Broadcasts of the City of Neenah Common Council meetings are produced by University Studios of the University of Wisconsin-Fox Valley. Neenah residents can get information about City Council meetings, City Committee meetings, meeting agendas, and other documents via the City website, www.neenahgov.org. Neenah residents can express their opinions about city issues or about these broadcasts by contacting the mayor's office, contacting their city alderman, or by completing the electronic feedback form on the city website, www.neenahgov.org. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited for playback.
I would like to call to order the meeting of the Neenah Common Council for Wednesday, March 21st, 2018. Welcome to everyone who's here tonight. The first item of business will be the roll call. Members will sign in on the roll call machine as your name is called by the clerk, please.
Alderman Boyette.
Here.
Bates.
Here.
Hillstrom.
Here.
Lendrum.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Lang.
Here.
Paulno.
Here.
Coons.
Here.
Stevenson.
Here. All members are present. There's a quorum present. The Pledge of Allegiance, if you stand and join us, will be led by Alderman Boyette.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Before we get into our business tonight, we have a presentation that we've been waiting for some time. It's taken a lot of work and effort. We have Director of Public Works is here tonight to give us the executive summary or the overview of the sewer rate study that was undertaken by MSA Professional Services. Director Kaiser's here to present the overview, and then I believe in a couple of weeks, the company will be here to do the in-depth presentation. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Good. Well, welcome, Director Kaiser. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. As the Mayor indicated, I'm going to give kind of a broad overview of the rate study. You all should have received the executive summary late last week. We are finalizing some of the content of the final report, but you'll also be receiving that, I would think, within the next week. So the rate study, as the Mayor indicated, was undertaken by MSA Professional Services. General goals of the study really look at the operating costs for the utility and recommend a form of structure to establish rates that equitably distribute those costs, and then to recommend rates that can be applied to that structure. And a key part for me was providing a method for the city to review annual adjustments to that rate, where we weren't reliant necessarily on going out for consulting services time after time to see if we're on the mark for where those rates are set. So before we get too deep into this, I wanted to provide some definitions for what will be part of the rate. The last rate study we had was in 2008, so a number of you have not really been involved in reviewing one of these before. The rates consist of a fixed charge or a meter-based charge. It's a flat fee based on the actual water meter size, and it's intended to cover the sanitary sewer portion of meter maintenance and meter reading. In addition to that, there's a flow charge or a volume charge that is, the unit is based on per 1,000 gallons of flow, and that's also based on the water meter reading. For residential customers, typically that's it. Well, that's always it. We do have some industries that actually get surcharged based on the quality of the sewage that they're sending into the system. And those surcharge parameters are BOD, which is biological oxygen demand. It's a measure of the quantity of oxygen that microorganisms need to break down organic matter in the waste. Typical strength, so residential or domestic strength, has a concentration of 240 milligrams per liter or less. And that was the level established. We've had that level established since the mid-90s. The total suspended solids is another indication of the amount of organic or inorganic material that's suspended in the water. And domestic strength sewage, we use a level of 260 milligrams per liter or less. So where we have industries that are regularly sending higher dosage sewage into the system, they get charged for each pound of BOD or suspended solid that's above that standard domestic strength wastewater. Coming down the line, the Sewage Commission, the sewage plant, has a phosphorus discharge limit as part of their discharge permit through the DNR. The Fox River, Lower Fox study on the total maximum daily load for storm sewer purposes assigned a limit to the plant. They have been looking at ways that they can meet that discharge limit. They have some studying ongoing yet, so at this point we don't know exactly what treatment processes are going to change for them or what the potential capital cost of those processes are. So those, both the capital and the ongoing treatment cost, will end up getting passed on to the contributing communities. So we will be paying, typically we're in the 51% range for the capital improvements at that plant. This is a rundown of our rate history. Prior to 2008, we were, for a flow, we were at $1.30 per 1,000 gallons. That rate was established in the early 90s. Prior to that, we were at like $1.70. So in that period, we had built up a sizable reserve. So the council at that point lowered the rate. After the McMahon study in 2008, you can see that we had some rate increases implemented over a 3-year period. And then when the sewage plant did its most recent upgrade, we also had increases to cover our portion of the cost for that capital project. In the recent improvements, if you look on the BOD and suspended solid sides, we increased our rate at the same level or same percentage that we increased our flow rate. And that was one of the aspects of our rate structure that triggered for me a need to look at how we were assigning our rates, because our individual charges for BOD and suspended solids don't necessarily reflect that straight increase. So the upper lines there are our current charges for BOD and suspended solids, and you see we in that 2012 through 2014 time period, that's where we increased the flow and those two component rates at the same percentage. We are charging quite a bit more than what we are getting charged from the plant for those. There should be some increase over the plant charge for our charge for BOD and suspended solids, but my concern is that we're beyond that. We're well above where we should be with that. So this was one of the aspects of the study that we asked the consultant to take a look at. The executive summary and in the rate analysis that was done, what we're proposing is to detach those component charges from the flow charge rate so that we would leave these numbers flat until charges from the treatment plant reached a level where we needed to look at adjusting these individual component charges. Second significant aspect of the study, a little more so than what I expected, was evaluating the reserve level and developing some structure for calculating an appropriate reserve. That seems to be a fairly common question of Director Easker when we have the audit reports brought before the council. And so as we discussed these things with the consultant, we had asked her to provide some definable measure to establish that reserve fund so that we know that we're covered for all aspects of our business. And then we have evaluating the rate requirements to cover the current and projected expenditures. So this is just a scenario table, just trying to look out at what our operating and capital costs are, what charges from the treatment plant would be, and then projecting where we should be to cover those costs and also establish the reserve that was calculated by the consultant. We had also asked her to evaluate the potential of cash funding our capital improvements. This model is similar to what the water utility currently does and has done since, I believe, 2011. As you would expect, a higher increase in the rates, but eventually weaning the utility off of borrowing. And then this is just a screenshot of a portion of the spreadsheet that can be used in the future to evaluate the rate structure. There is a capability within it to adjust the level of capital improvement so you can see what potential impact different changes to either capital improvements, to a surcharge customer going out of business, or changing operation where it reduces their impact on the system. So there's a lot of flexibility within this to allow us to study the rate. We have a lot more to learn on it because it's quite involved, but I look forward to doing that. So as the mayor mentioned, this will be coming to a future Finance and Personnel Committee meeting. I don't know that the date has been set yet, but it will be very shortly, and the consultant will be there and bring you through the rate study in much more depth than what you saw in the executive summary. And like I say, you'll be getting a full copy of the study, I would think, within the next week.
Thank you, Jerry. We are looking at, I believe it's April 9th, trying to see if the consultant, if that date is available for her. So we're looking for that date. We're shooting for that date, as I understand it. Finance Committee meeting. As Jerry pointed out, this is the summary. Someone has questions or comments or would like, you're going to get additional information, but if there's something specific that, is missing or you think you would like to have, I guess, put it up for a couple minutes for questions for Jerry. Alderman Paulno.
Jerry, a couple questions just specific to, you'd sent out the executive summary. Now, is that tailored upon strictly the consultant's recommendation, or consultant's recommendation and discussion with you and Director Easker? The combination of both?
I would say it's a combination of both, yeah.
So I was just curious because I see here for reserves that are recommended, and there were some different factors there, but it said approximately 3.3 million, which we are at per the executive summary as of 2017, and not knowing the scope of what other sanitary or other utilities would do, it seems like a lot, but maybe it's not. So for that level, for 3.3 million, there is factors in there. Was that compared to other municipalities as well? I guess maybe that'd be more of a Director Easker question.
Well, I think in the discussion or discussions that we had with the consultant, they were the ones that introduced, I guess, the components of the reserve calculation. As Director Kaiser said, this is one of those things where we've never really had had a standard protocol, something we were aiming at with any specific purpose as to why. And I thought it was very helpful that she was bringing up things that are kind of standard things that they recommend across the industry. In other words, things to look at when you're looking at reserve levels. One of them being the ongoing debt coverage, the other being the potential of customer fluctuations. Oh, that was something, quite frankly, I had never really considered before in terms of the reserve levels, is to take a look at your largest customer or customers and have a reserve level that would be there to mitigate the potential that a customer may go away.
Like Fox Valley Energy did for the water.
Correct, exactly. And I think, that along with having a portion of the operating expenses and provide for emergencies and so on, I think that provides a basis for us to have a, I think, coherent and, appropriate discussion that I think we've probably needed for a long time as to, okay, what should the reserve level be and why? And now we, in the committee and council can decide if the components that she's suggesting are appropriate or not, and we can debate that. But at least now we've got something to really center around. So I'm actually most of that actually came from the consultant, not me.
And that's excellent to have some kind of factor, some kind of baseline. It just seemed ironic that we have all these factors. And hey, by the way, 2017, 3.3 million is what we have, and that's what they're saying. So I just,
that was absolutely coincidental, but at least it affirmed, in this case, what that number is. But remember, that number, standard-wise, would be going down without a rate increase. So we
absolutely. I just was wondering if other municipalities were taking into account as well as levels.
Good question. No, we were not. We did not give her a goal to come up with components to aim toward. No, we did not.
So when she comes, Jerry will be talking to her, Alderman Paulno. Would you like to, Director Kaiser, to at least make her aware that we'd kind of like to know what the standard is in other communities and that?
Yeah, the factors is a very good thing. I just want to know if that level relative to a percentage of our overall utility, is that part of it, and then compare. I think that'd be
Jerry
powerful.
will be talking to her. I think that's good. Thanks. Alderman Coons?
Thank you, Mayor. And I don't want to get away to the discussion of this because we'll get into that later, but one thing I would like to see is these numbers extended out, particularly from a rate standpoint. We look at least what I'm seeing right now is like 3 years. I'm particularly interested, of course, if we were to raise rates to reduce borrowing, what happens is, you end up saving money, doesn't cost more money. It ends up saving money because you're saving that interest. And so if you extend it out long enough, you'll start to see the benefit. But if you don't, then it just looks like a, higher rate. So I'm hoping we extend that to the point where we can see the full benefit of that. And there's obviously some options to use a little bit of your fund balance in there, and then build it back up as you have that service. So there's all kinds of ways, and hopefully our finance people are involved with that and how we would scale that. I'd be very interested.
Thank you. Alderman Bates?
Thank you, Mayor. Concerning this phosphorus discharge limits and the necessary upgrades we're going to have to go with it, is that a general situation with all communities, or is this something that perhaps certain businesses contribute more to? Because when we pass it on to all the consumers, I'm wondering, is that everybody's problem, or is that because we have a particular type of business going on?
It really affects all communities that have a wastewater treatment plant, that have a stormwater utility or discharge stormwater. We, as a stormwater utility, are under the same type of limit. Right. Our number is different, but we still have an obligation through the TMDL to reduce phosphorus loadings on the water bodies nearby. So I would say it's more that it impacts all communities.
It's just kind of a situation of having this many people living in an area we have to treat it. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Thank you very much, and we look forward to the full explanation in that. Like I said, we're shooting for April 9th, I believe is a Monday, correct? All right. Then we will go on to the regular order of business. Item number 2, there are none. The council proceedings will be acted on, for March 7th, will be acted on the April 4th meeting. There are no public hearings or plan commission reports pertaining to that. Item number 6 is the public forum. Public forum is an opportunity for anyone from the community to come before the council and speak on any topic that they would like. All we ask is that you give your name and address so we have it for the record, and try to keep your comments under 5 minutes. So with that, is there anyone here who would like to speak to the council? Welcome, Joe. Come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Joe Mothy. My address is 805 South Summit Street in Appleton. I'm the Executive Director of the Housing Partnership of the Fox Cities. I'm here with Rachel Youngquist, who's the Deputy Director of the Housing Partnership. Rachel does most of the community development block grant work for us that we've done with Neenah as well as Appleton. And really just wanted to introduce ourselves and say that we're here. I know that a later agenda item is to talk about that block grant for potential purchase of a property, and want you to know that we were here for questions or discussion as needed.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Who else would like to address the council? Come on up. Welcome, Brian.
Brian Defferting, 686 Oak Street. I'm just approaching the council in regards to a specific part of street, in regards to Caroline Street, the part that goes from Lake Street to the Neenah Slough. I was walking that little patch myself, and I was talking to people, and I asked this simple question of, what things would you like to see the city of Neenah do for you? And this one resident basically let me have it for about a good 10 minutes in regards to that street. It's in very poor shape. Simply put, it's in terrible shape. There's 4-inch potholes. There's one of the residents has to pick apart bits and pieces of asphalt in order to mow his lawn in the spring and summertime, and it's just overall in terrible shape. And just wanted to know if that's on the schedule in the next 5 years to get treatment, whether it be curb or gutter or just simply the road itself, and if not, if we could look into that.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else like to address the council? Anyone else? Seeing no one else, I will close the public forum. The next item is Mayor Council consideration of any public forum issues. Anyone like to respond? Gary, do you have an answer for?
Yeah, Caroline, that section of Caroline Street is not in the 17 to 21 CIP.
Okay, good. We will talk about that along with a whole bunch of other streets that are probably in similar shape. So thanks for bringing it to our attention. Alderman Lundrum.
Could I bring Mr. Mothy back up?
You want to do that now or when we take
Sure,
up the issue?
Sure, I guess I would. It's just an overview question, not a specific question.
Is that
Mr. Mothy, can you come back up to the microphone?
Is there any objection to opening the public forum back up? Seeing no objection, come on up. Go ahead.
Yes.
Hi. Could you explain the housing partnership a little bit? Can you explain your basic funding sources? Mm-hmm. And can you also, without obviously going into detail, just some, I guess, maybe demographic, who you serve?
Sure. Thanks for that opportunity.
Thank you.
The Housing Partnership, we've existed for about 30 years. In summary, we serve at any time about 450 individuals per year. We do that. Our primary service is through housing. We have, at any given time, about 140 households in primarily Appleton and Neenah that we utilize. We run 8 different programs. I won't get into the details. The main classifications of those are a little less than half of those are directly homelessness related. So we work closely with Homeless Connection, Fox Valley Warming Shelter, and Harbor House to help people who are experiencing homeless transition out. So with that, we provide apartments and homes and intensive case management, which typically looks like a minimum of weekly meetings with the case manager, connect to service, set goals, with the goal of establishing employment, stable housing, and independence. Another half of what we do is housing oriented. We provide quality, safe, stable, affordable housing for families in need. That might be one farther step out of that homelessness continuum where you don't need the case management any longer, or it might be a preventive step for a family or an individual that is has a high housing cost burden. And we know that for us, that marker is a national marker of 30%. If you're paying more than 30% of your income towards housing costs, we know it's highly likely you're going to compromise some other things in your life or for your family, which might be food, medicine, education, transportation, and things go bad from there in a lot of areas. One of those being homelessness. Another one is undue or overuse of public services, crisis facilities, and so on. We have some other programs that serve special needs individuals, but that, in essence, our mission is to support people who are experiencing homelessness, who are in poverty, with the goal of rising up beyond that to a level of self-sufficiency and independence.
And the majority of your funding source?
Oh, thanks. You asked that initially. Our funding, if we break it down, we run an annual budget of about $1.4 to $1.5 million. That funding comes from about 40% of that is earned income, rents that we collect. So we say everybody that we serve has skin in the game. Everybody pays rent to their ability to pay. So about 40% is earned income, about 30% is government grants, typically HUD-related grants that come through a variety of sources. About 30%, another 30% of that is contributions, almost all of those through corporations and foundations. We do have some individual giving, but that's a small percentage for us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Alderman Lundrum. Alderman Erickson.
I have a point of order. We didn't approve the minutes, and I don't see it on the agenda.
They're not completed yet because of the election, and on the calendar, on the agenda here, it says that they'll be acted on the April 4th meeting. Okay, thanks. All right, there is no consent agenda tonight. That's unusual. Item number 9, reports of standing committees and consideration thereof. The regular Public Services and Safety Committee meeting, there is no report from March 13th, 2018. The item number B, the regular Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of March 12th, 2018. Chairman Paulno.
The first item, actually the meeting minutes can be found on the city website for those watching at home. Item number 1, committee recommends council approve the purchase of 2 IBM Power 9 servers from CDW for a cost not to exceed $65,000 with funding improved in Information System 2018 capital budget. So move.
Second.
There's a motion by Alderman Paulno, seconded by Alderman Coons. Discussion. Alderman Paulno.
Yeah, I spoke at committee that I agree with the purchase. I mean, I agree with that these servers are end of life. My concern, and my continuing concern, we have this is another piece of the puzzle for the ERP plan and/or strategy. And every time we make an expenditure of this nature without discussing as a council and/or looking, in my opinion, at options, I think we're narrowing our scope of services potentially long-term in a 5 or 10 year at least window. It's concerning to me because we've been down this road and I've advocated maybe a subcommittee of IS, but it hasn't got a lot of traction with the council. But I think it's very important. We have GIS, for example, that's been lingering out there 10, 15 years that hasn't been addressed. And we have a lot of comments about why and what never happens. I think it's because we make expenditure purchases and we say, well, then we'll get to it. Well, I don't think that's a good strategy, and I think that's why our software and technology is languishing in the valley. If you ask people in the valley and people around your neighborhood, I think we are behind the times in the city of Neenah, and that's discouraging to me. I think we could make a lot of traction. So that is why I voted against this in committee, and that's why I'll be voting against this tonight, because I think it's short-sighted. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, I just want to say, and Alderman Olno brings out, I listened the other night and he brings up a couple good points, and I've said for some time that, technology, we can do so much, and I will say this, that this community, the last 4 years at least, has really taken some good steps forward to improve their technology capabilities. The GIS system took a while, but we finally moving the ball forward in that. And the updates that IS has made throughout the city hall and through our other agencies have really improved services in a lot of ways. The community now enjoys Wi-Fi in certain parts of the community that we never had before. So while I think we got a long ways to go, I think we have made some progress. I will say this, in the next couple weeks, I think the council will be hearing from me. I'm trying to develop a memo and a statement to actually, I'm going to attempt to let the council know that I too believe it's time that we move forward on this ERP, the hybrid ERP, and my feelings on it, and try and move that ball forward and get us in a better position. So while I appreciate your comments, I learned something in committee that I didn't realize that different servers service different applications in that. That's out of my realm, to be honest. And it's more for your realm because you're good at that stuff. But I think this is a prudent purchase, and I also believe that in the coming weeks you're going to hear something from me that I'm going to try and get us to a better place on the hybrid ERP, and that, in at least my opinion, and I know the council gets the final say, but I think it's time that we have a little bit more direction and we move forward. So hopefully that'll be happening fairly quick. Alderman Boyette, see what I started?
Yeah, well, he didn't start it, but, I've been thinking about this, and, in committee, I brought it up in committee too, and I'm gonna say it tonight again, because in the very beginning of this, we were told there were 3 components to this, 3 departments needed to be involved, and the one that keeps getting pushed to the back burner hasn't met yet. So again, I'm going to be voting no tonight on this again, because we're doing it without the Water Commission, and they're the ones that should have been involved in this the whole way, and they haven't. And this continues to not be brought to their commission. So I'll be voting no until I know more about what that committee wants to do.
Well, and you're on the Water Commission, so you'll get that opportunity. I will say this, I believe the water utility uses our system. Is that correct, Mike? So the Water Commission kind of, in this particular instance, not the applications, but the server, whatever server the city has, I would assume the Water Commission, that's the server that they use. So I think you're doing the, if asking the right questions on the other things, but I don't think that implicates the server question, which we're answering tonight. So Alderman Coons.
Thank you, Mayor. You did start something. Just really quickly, I had to say, at least from my opinion, this issue of whether the water department picks some other system that might run on some other server. To me, if they do that, then the whole ERP and anything we try to do gets difficult. Doesn't matter what server we get. We need to move forward. Hopefully, the Water Commission utility goes with the right application that will work on all these different components, and then we need to move forward. I think we need to move forward, and we keep on talking about that, but yet if we hold things up, it's hard to move forward. So I think in some ways we need to get out of the way and let these things happen. And this service probably 3 years. We should have done it several years already. So I'm ready to move on.
All right, thank you very much. There's a motion and a second to approve the purchase of 2 IBM Power 9 servers from CDW at a cost not to exceed $65,000 as funding from the Information Systems 2018 CIP budget, which has already been approved. All in favor of that motion will vote aye. All opposed will vote no using the roll call machine. That motion passes 7-2.
Item number 2, committee recommends council authorize the purchase of a 2018 Ford Interceptor police utility vehicle and the equipment necessary for its operation as a K-9 squad for a total cost of $52,571.18, and I would so move.
Second.
There's a motion by Alderman Paulno, seconded by Alderman Erickson. Questions or comments? Right. I think it's important before we vote that there is a donation involved in this purchase, and everyone at this table knows that, but people back home don't. And there is a donation involved in this, which I believe is approximately $32,000.
Thought it was 34.
Okay, and so that will offset the $52,000, a lot of it. So just wanted to mention that. All in favor of the motion will vote aye. All opposed will vote no using the roll call machine. That motion passes 9-0.
Item number 3, committee recommends council authorize purchasing a police K-9 and associated training with a total cost of $14,552, and I would so move.
Second.
There's a motion by Alderman Paulno, seconded by Alderman Stevenson, to purchase the police K-9 and the associated training. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor will vote aye. All opposed will vote no using the roll call machine. That motion passes 9-0. Director Easker.
Yeah, just to clarify again on the funding, and the PD representatives are here as well. If everyone recalls, the K-9-2, we'll call it, the second K-9, the all capital equipment cost, the cost of the dog, and the first year operating costs are all to come from donated funds. So it's fully funded based upon the budget through donated funds for, as I said, for all of the costs to bring the second K-9 on board, have all the equipment along with the first year operating costs.
Great. Thank you for that clarification.
Item number 4, committee recommends council to authorize agreement with the Housing Partnership of the Fox Cities to assist with acquisition of 1156 Maple Street in the amount of $60,000 with Community Development Block Grant Funds. Recommendation failed on a 2-3 committee vote.
Alderman Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like now to move to authorize agreement with the Housing Partnership of the Fox Cities to assist with acquisition of 1156 Maple Street in the amount of $60,000 with the Community Development Block Grant Funds.
Lee, can you put your motion back in?
Second.
There's a motion by Alderman Hillstrom, seconded by Alderman Bates. Comments? Question. Alderman Paulno?
I think I've been pretty consistent on this. My approach is that tax dollars should not be utilized in this manner. My personal approach life, and I'm very familiar with rental businesses. I'm a landlord myself. I know a lot about low-income environments, and I deal with low-income people all the time. I have tremendous respect for the Housing Partnership. I just have never been an advocate for this program. I don't think $121,000 investment, $60,000 being tax dollars, is wise in $103,000 assessed property. I think the neighborhood, as I heard, this would be a new utilization of this house. To say that this would expand rental environment is true. I just don't think that's adequate expenditure of tax dollars. So I'll be voting against that for that reason. Thank you.
Alderman Lundrum.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm a little bit different than Alderman Paulno. I don't have a blanket objection. I do look at each project on its own merit, and many times I do approve of some of these funding purchases. This one, I do not think this is the best use of CDBG funds. I am on my 5th housing rehab. I am a landlord, so I do kind of know what I'm talking about. And when, just to give you an example, rehabbing the exterior of this last house produced a domino effect in my neighborhood, because every street has a ceiling price that your house is not going to go over. People are not going to invest in their homes if they don't think it's going to pay off. So using funds for a street that already is a very nice street, I'm not sure how much money that you can use on the exterior of this house. I think a lot of it will be interior. And so to me, that is not improving our housing stock per se on the exterior, which is more what I'm interested in. And there are, just for example, there are a couple houses on Hewitt Street that I really wish that you could have pursued. They're not selling. The prices are dropping. The exteriors are extremely rough. If they were improved, and I have senior housing partnership houses, and they are cute. You all do a really good job on the exterior. I have not seen any interiors, but so if you did that, it would be exactly, I would guess, exactly like what happened on my street. Is you are encouraging the rest of the neighbors, because then they know it's worth it to drop that kind of money into it. So, you know, those houses are just sitting there on Hewitt, and they're calling for an organization like yours to step in and help. And so that's why I won't be voting for the house on Maple Street. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Alderman Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. I, too, voted against this in committee. And the reason being is the house on either side, properties are in very, very good condition, and they're very, very well kept up. And I would like to encourage a single-family home purchase here. I know that the housing inventory for starter homes or homes in this price range is very, very limited in the Fox Cities. I've talked to a couple of realtors, and I think that this particular house would be purchased and could be purchased by a single-family home, and there would be no problem with that. And I'd like to keep this neighborhood, even though there are some duplexes down at the other end of the street, intact, where we don't have renters and then single-family houses and another renter. You know, I am in agreement with Carrie or Alderman Lindgren on this, that there are some homes that need to be upgraded, and I think we should look at those homes first in order to bring them up, to help bring the neighborhood up, as opposed to a home where I think the exterior is in great shape, and I've looked online and have seen the pictures of the interior, and that the interior is in pretty good shape as well. So I think this home would easily sell to a single family, and I would encourage everyone not to vote for this.
Thank you. Alderman Bates.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a question for Mr. Mothy. You want to come up to the mic? My stand is that we have these houses throughout Neenah, and we don't spot them, which means you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
And having availability in all different parts of the city for people of lower income. They're just as upstanding as the rest of us. There's no difference. Now, when you have a renter, sometimes people question if it's a absentee landlord. You have questions about that. if there was someone who was renting one of your properties anywhere in the city and there was complaints about it, does your organization get involved?
Yes, we get involved immediately. I think that's an advantage that we have over, I like to think over landlords who maybe have a different mission in mind. So if we get a call, we follow it up on it immediately. We do thorough investigations on an annual basis of every one of our properties, and then more frequently as needed. If somebody doesn't pass inspection or if we get complaints from neighbors or city, we'll follow up on that as well.
Thank you.
While I'm here, can I add a little bit? What we do, especially with block grant money, is we try to serve two purposes. One is, in a general sense, blight reduction, which is maybe too strong a term, but the rehab to be able to upgrade the value of a property and the value of a block. Absolutely. That is typically what we do. And if we look at other properties, 10 other properties that we have in Neenah, that's been our MO. The second thing that we do, as I mentioned earlier, is our mission of providing safe, stable, quality housing for a family and all of the good that brings the family, the community, and the neighborhood as well. With this one, given the timing that we had, so we looked at, one on Hewitt Street is a 2-bedroom. We were looking for something a little bigger. And honestly, right now, with the number of other projects that we have going, we defaulted to a turnkey operation so we could achieve the second one of those objectives of ours, which is to serve a low-income family in a way that betters the life for that family and consequently the community. We didn't look at the fixer-uppers that we've done in the past. So that was part of what was attractive about this property, is that we could fulfill that second purpose for the block grant priorities as well as for the housing partnership. Our intent is to do more what you like, and I appreciate the compliment, is to fix it up. We believe that that is good for the block, for the house, for the city, and ourselves. In this case, it was a matter of timing, the timing that we had to be able to complete this transaction because of some of the deadlines of the block grant process at this point, and the fact that we have another large project going in Appleton. So it was opportunistic to be able to meet one objective and not the other. Thank you.
All right. Other comments or questions? Alderman Boyett.
Director Hayes, is this the last of the money for the grants?
It's not the last of the money, but it's the last big piece that will, with this expenditure, we will meet our expenditure requirements.
Of our use it or lose it
Yes.
funding?
Well, again, I know I've said it a few times. I don't know what the implications are of not meeting that threshold. We can't seem to get a strong answer, any answer for that matter, out of HUD.
But if we don't prove this, there's a question that we may not get that funding to that amount again next year.
That's correct.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? See none. Alderman Hillstrom had moved and Alderman Bates had seconded that the council authorize an agreement to assist with the acquisition of 1156 Maple Street in the amount of $60,000 with community development block grant funds. All in favor of that motion will vote aye. All opposed will vote no using the roll call machine. That motion passes 5-4.
Item number 5, committee recommends council approve resolution 2018-13, establishing the interest rate for special assessments paid in installments under Wisconsin statute 66.0715, using the formula of the current prime interest rate of 4.5% plus a factor of 0.5% for a total special assessment rate for 2018 of 5%, and I would so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Paulno, seconded by Alderman Coons.
Attorney Gillespie, I just point of order, because that's how it was read on the agenda to read it out, but my understanding the Federal Reserve increased interest rate to 0.25%. Now, how would that impact this, or should we alter this, or is that correct? That Federal Reserve?
They increased the Fed funds rate. That does not specifically increase the prime rate. That prime rate will many times follow that.
Yeah.
But the Fed funds rate is what they increased today.
So, but there's probably an expectation that that'll follow soon.
Sure. And I think that's baked into the idea that the prime rate, as we were looking at it, is always the March 1st rate. And
I just think it's important to note, because the Federal Reserve has also said they plan to do it 3 more times this year, so I won't be here, but advise the council to get assessment situation sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Okay. The motion is second. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor, will vote aye. All opposed will vote no using the roll call machine. That motion passes 9-0.
Item number 6, committee recommends council adopt resolution 2018-10, authorizing execution of various documents relating to the bond financing of the Fox Cities Exhibition Center, subject to certification by the mayor that the appropriate project expenditures are reflected in the final documents, with the committee amending the previous committee recommendation by removing $281,130 from the previously recommended excluded amount of $803,130, with the amount of funds to be excluded from the proposed borrowing to now total $522,000, and I would so move.
Second. There's a motion by Alderman Paulno, seconded by Alderman Stevenson, to adopt resolution 2018-10. Comments or questions? Alderman Bates.
Thank you, Mayor. I asked this of Director Easker at the committee meeting, and I just want to reconfirm this, that the interest rate that they would be hoping to get back is a reasonable one. They're not Appleton, which had to float these for that time being because the borrowing was not secured at that point, is not unreasonable.
it is not.
Thank you.
Well, and again, it was a rolling rate that started much lower because they were fronting these funds upwards of 2 years ago already, when interest rates were much lower, and as they quite frankly continued to dip into their reserves to offset that, they would have been also probably dipping into higher interest rate holdings that they had that were out there and longer on the maturity curve, simply because they may have had to do that. So there were some numbers in there that were that had climbed higher as the time went on. But overall, I looked at it and I felt it was reasonable, not dissimilar to probably what I would have asked if the city of Neenah had been in that situation.
Now, my question to the mayor would be, has the council and the mayor of Appleton been approached with this, and can they?
Sure. Yeah, let me just give you a quick update. We had a meeting here a week ago with all the partners, member communities, including Appleton. We've had other meetings with the partners. Alderman Stevenson, as council president, has taken part in some of those, along with some of the staff. But at the end of the day, the very last meeting, it was agreed by all the partners that we would all pass the same resolution, and that is what we're passing tonight. So all the communities will be passing these. There's about 3 of them that are passing this resolution tonight, the same as we are. And so you know, it's been a long road to get this behind us, and we're ready. You know, I'm ready to move on along with the other communities. We're hopeful that this project is a huge success, because we still believe that it's going to greatly benefit the entire region and the hotels. And there's 4 new hotels going up in Appleton Grand Chute. Our hoteliers are strongly supportive of this, and we're hoping that by passing this resolution, we can get this financing behind us. But we all agreed that the number of 522 $522,000 would come out of the borrowing. And quite honestly, I think it's the expectations are that if that is going to be paid, Appleton will probably pay it.
And so is Appleton passing the same thing as well as being one of the
Yes.
partners?
Appleton
So they're
is-
they're
Appleton's
understanding why
passing the
we
same-
pulled these others out.
Yes, and just the other day, Monday, I believe, or Tuesday, the commission, the room tax commission, they passed the same thing also.
Thank you.
So everyone's on board. Alderman Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a question for Director Easker. Of the $281,130, what is the proportion that Neenah will be paying for that? Because it's not equally split by 9.
Sure. Well, as of now, the city of Neenah has historically paid about 10 to 12% of the total room taxes within the region. So if this is a part of that, if that amount is part of the borrowing, that borrowing is paid back by room taxes generated in the future, I would, absent any other hotels being put in the city of Neenah, which could change that obviously, we will be paying about 10 to 12% of that total amount until the full amount's paid off.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Paulno?
Director Easker, just one quick question. There was a reference to an additional $4,000 that wasn't reflected, and is it reflected in these numbers?
Yes, sir. It is. Yes.
Thank you. Just checking.
Alderman Coons?
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I can't let this go by without saying something, and at least addressing the elephant in the room, at least from my standpoint. I said it before at committee, but it's not in the minutes, and I'll say it here. I'm disappointed in Appleton in this process. I think the Fox Cities is a unique area. We are not a bunch of suburbs that hover around a big metropolitan area like Madison or Milwaukee or Chicago or Minneapolis. We are unique in how we are put together. We are more alike than different with our unique downtowns and unique areas, and we are so much stronger together as a community. When we work together and come to agreements together. And I think what happened here, the overall project, the concept was fabulous. I think it's exactly what this area needs. I was disappointed in Appleton in that they pursued avenues for financing that I've never heard one reasonable explanation as to why. They end up costing this deal, got more expensive because of it. I think the communities around did some sensible things. They didn't try to go back and have Appleton pay another $6 million or whatever we lost in interest. While at the same time, Appleton talked about being held hostage and other kinds of language that to me wasn't helpful in the situation. Luckily, the other 9 communities, I think, have come together and said, we got to do what's best for this community, and that is pass this and pay the interest that never should have come about if Appleton would have done what they've always done, what every community's always done in regards to financing a project like this. So if Appleton wants to pursue variable rates, they'll have an opportunity with their library. If they want to borrow that way, go for it. But it was disappointing, and I at least wanted to call that out because I think it's important as we move forward that every community comes together and works together. And when something goes wrong, that we at least mention that, call it out, and say that's not right. But hopefully we can all come together and continue to come together because we all need it. Every one of these communities, Appleton included, along with every one of us. I thought it needed to be said, at least from my perspective.
Thank you. Council President Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. I would concur wholeheartedly with Alderperson Kuntz's comments. But I want to follow up on Alderperson Erickson's question because what I heard was the question was, what is the city of Neenah's percentage of the interest payment? I think it's important for our residents to understand that the city of Neenah's share is not funded by taxpayer dollars, but that it's funded by the hoteliers who collect room tax. And it's an important distinction to understand that property taxes aren't going into this. But I also think it's important to help dovetail with all that person Kuntz said. The efforts that the city of Neenah made to correct the situation wasn't made it was made on behalf of our taxpayers, but it was really made on behalf of the hoteliers who are collecting this room tax and who are funding a number of projects with those dollars. And our efforts were to correct the wrong and to better and quicker utilize those room tax dollars above and beyond the exposition center quicker and to correct what all the person Kuntz has referenced to. So kudos to Mike Easker and Mayor Coffert for the leadership they've shown the other 9 communities and making a very cumbersome, logistically challenging effort come to fruition. And that was no easy task. So I want to publicly thank them for that effort.
All right, thank you, Alderman Stevenson. I will just say that there was a lot of time, energy, and effort spent by a lot of people, including Alderman Stevenson, including Attorney Godleski and Director Hayes. But Mike Easker did an excellent job of bringing this to our attention, to my attention, and a lot of the things that were said tonight are true, and we're all in this together. We are stronger as a region if we all work together, and it is a little bit disappointing in what happened, but hopefully we will learn from it and be able to move forward. And there's more projects on the way that are going to benefit the entire region, and we're pretty fortunate in that regard. So a lot of good work by a lot of people. So I do believe it's time for all of us to move forward, and all the communities are in this together, and they've all agreed to that. So I hope we can pass this and move on to other important issues also. But thanks for the comments. All right, anyone else? If not, all in favor of adoption of Resolution 2018-10 will vote aye. All those opposed will vote no using the roll call machine. That motion passes 9-0.
That concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Item number 10, special committees, liaisons, and various special project committees. There was no regular plan commission meeting. Item number B, the special Neenah Menasha Fire Rescue Joint Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of March 7th, 2018. Vice Chairman Coons.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting out on the meeting of March 7th, the committee recommends the city of Neenah and the city of Menasha Common Councils authorize hiring one firefighter after April 6, 2018, and subject to that firefighter who moved to management not returning to his staff position. And I so move.
Second.
There's a motion by Alderman Coons, seconded by Alderman Paulno. There are comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor will vote aye. All opposed will vote no using the roll call machine. That motion passes 9-0.
That's the end of my report.
Thank you. I believe Chief will be introducing the new Deputy Chief to the council in an upcoming meeting, correct? Thank you very much. Item number C, the Board of Public Works meeting of March 13, 2018. Vice Chairman Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. The minutes from this meeting can be found on the city website. There's one informational item this evening. The board approved pay request number 4 for contract PR 01-17, the Fox River Loop the Lake Neenah Bridge Crossing Project to Pfeiffer Brothers Construction Company Incorporated in the amount of $132,272.05 $1.30. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. And let me, I just can't go on without saying this. If you haven't been out there to take a look at it, the weather's getting better now finally, so get out there and take a look because it's really getting close to being completed. It's pretty darn cool when you go look at it and you see what's forthcoming. So I think our citizens and people are really going to be excited when this is done. The grand opening or the ribbon cutting is slated for early June. We'll be letting everyone know. But Pfeiffer Brothers, think about those cold, windy days in December and January when that wind was howling down the lake there, and those guys were out there putting this bridge together. So Pfeiffer Brothers did a great job. It's very close to being finished. Alderman Bates.
Thank you, Mayor. And if anyone has read the minutes from that meeting, and the mayor did call out one question on some washers and whether this was like the space program where we had hundreds of dollars for a washer. It turns out it was cartons of washers. So there was. It was cartons, yes. 3,200 in each carton, so that was good. Otherwise, we were part of the NASA space program. All right. Item number D is Community Development Authority update. Is there any update, Director Hayes, from the CDA?
I have no updates.
All right.
I think you have someone on your board, though, Mayor.
Alderman Erickson?
I just had a question that came up at library board today. When will people be able to use that? You said that the opening is in June, and somebody else at the meeting had heard May. Do you know?
The official opening, the ribbon cutting, so to speak, and then there'll be a 5K run and walk will be in June. As soon as it's safe to officially open it, because the bridge may be done, but there's going to be work that still needs to be done on the entrances and to get to the bridge in that. So as soon as it's safely available, and I think Public Works probably coordinating with Mike Kading on that, but I don't think there's a timeline or a deadline at this point.
Okay. So we're still looking at June.
It'll probably be before that. I have asked Director Kading that when it's ready, when it's safe, when it's deemed okay to go across, that we don't blockade it or something until June, that we'll open it. So we'll make an announcement. We'll have Joni, say that it's okay to go across, but the big splash will be early June.
Okay, thank you.
There?
Big splash.
Yeah. Chris says we'll turn off the electric fencing at some point. No. So that's where we're at. So we just want to make sure it's safe, ready, and that it's that the contractor signs off and things like that. So there's not a date yet. But
okay, thank you.
And then speaking of the library board, is there any report from the library board, Alderman Erickson?
Yes, there is. Thank you, Mayor. The library board met today at 4 o'clock, and next week is spring break for the kids in Neenah, Menasha, and Appleton. And the library has something planned every single day at 1 o'clock. So if you have children or know of children that would be interested, there are STEM activities that are planned for them to attend. There's everything from fingerprinting, squishy circuits, windy tubes, robots, and wind turbines. So please check it out. I think there's something for everybody to come and enjoy. And in addition, for adults, I had hoped that Chief Wilkinson was here because he is a writer. There is a poetry workshop on Saturday, April 7th at 1:30, and there is an award-winning poet, Catherine Gale, who will be there, and she will guide the workshop. And the first 24 people in attendance will receive a free poetry journal. And on Saturday, April 28th, Fox Valley Ghost Hunters will be giving a presentation, and it is Craig Neering and author Enid Cleaves, and they will share their chilling ghost encounters from their second book, Wisconsin's Most Haunted. This program, the last time, 50 people were turned away because it was so popular. So if you're interested in going, there are free tickets that you can pick up starting Saturday, April 21st at 10 a.m. at the library's second floor reference desk. This is going to be a very popular program, so I encourage you to, if you're interested in going, getting your tickets. There are many more programs that are available at the library. I encourage you to visit the Neenah Library website for all of the details. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. And because we like to keep Alderman Erickson busy, any report from the Neenah Arts Council?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, there is. The Neenah Arts Council met last Wednesday, March 14th, and as I mentioned earlier, March is Youth Art Month, and there are 9 exhibits, including the one in the lobby of the City Hall of children's artwork. And the other places where you can view the kids' artwork is the Neenah Public Library, the Neenah City Hall, Mallard Park Highlands, Kurt Stein School of Music, Ascension Medical Group on Main Street, Associated Bank on Wisconsin Avenue, Community First on Forest Avenue, the Valley Academy for the Arts, and the Best Western Premier Bridget Resort Hotel. Kids are really proud of their artwork and seeing their artwork on display. So I encourage you to visit as many as you can. The Valley Academy for the Arts is having an open house this Saturday, March 24th from 10 to 3. And there was an opening at the Bergstrom Mahler Museum of Glass for the Fox Valley Area Arts High School Art Student Exhibition March 3rd, and that runs through March 31st. So lots of things going on. We are in the planning stages of what we are going to be doing for our 3rd event with the city. So that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. And the Neenah Arts Council is something that this council put together earlier this year, and they're really starting to get their feet on the ground. I think I'm hearing good things in that. So we're looking at some arts, how we're going to accept art in the community, and some additional art along the Loop to Lake Trail and that. So good job. And I would encourage people at home, if you want to see some really cool stuff, right here in City Hall today, Alderman Lang and I had the opportunity. We were just hanging out in the rotunda there, and a young gal, 5th grader from Spring Road, she was here with Mom, and they were taking pictures of her art. And I'm here to tell you, you could just see the smile and how proud both the daughter and the mom were, and it was really kind of cool just to watch the interaction and how pleased Mom was and how proud the young gal was, and then they even talked the mayor into getting a picture taken with them. So a lot of fun, but there's a lot of places where this is being showed all throughout the community, so it's kind of cool that we took part in it this year, so thanks.
Mm-hmm.
No petitions, any council directives, any unfinished business. Under new business, I just, if anyone else has something, but I have a couple things here. I do want to tell the people at home that we're back on the air after being off for a while as far as the taping of the council meetings. Just to recap, we were pretty much taken off the air because of requirement that the Green Bay people who run the public access channel want everyone to have closed captioning. So the council determined that they were going to do that, and so we have closed captioning now. We are on the air the Tuesday after the council meeting. Is that correct, Clerk Sturm? So get the word out. Joni's been putting it on Facebook. We've been trying to talk about it. I talked about it on WHPY on Monday, but there's a lot of people who have asked me, at least, what happened? When are you guys coming back? And people are already finding it. So it's on at 6 p.m. the Tuesday after the council meeting. So as much as you can do to help is great. Couple other quick things. The second installment of people's taxes. I don't know why I have to be the one to remind them of that, but second installment of people's taxes are due on March 31st. So if you're on the installment plan, make sure you get in and get that second installment paid. The pet licenses, they expire March 31st, and get your pet licensed. We have been dealing a lot here in this city with some dog issues and that, And the police department spends a lot of time on animals that get loose. And then they're taken out to the Humane Society, the shelter, and we have to find the owners. It'd be a heck of a lot easier if they're licensed and if they got those tags on. So for $6 a year, license your pet. Those of us who are up here, many of us have done doors and knocked on doors and walked through this city, and there is a whole heck of a lot more dogs than there are licensed sold in this city. So we encourage you to get your pets licensed. The Oak Hill Cemetery, this is important. Oak Hill Cemetery cleanup is April 2nd, that Monday. So if you have artificial flowers out there, if you have things out there by your loved ones' graves, they ask that they be removed by April 2nd so that they can do the cleanup. They do a very good cleaning out there at the cemetery, and so they ask that everything be taken off, and then the following week it can put things back on the grave sites. So that's important. And then lastly, I'm going to have the clerk talk about elections and absentee voting, or early voting, I should say.
Okay, we have absentee voting in the clerk's office until Friday, March 30th. There is no voting on Monday, April 2nd, the day before the election. The cutoff is Friday, March 30th. And the last day we can mail a ballot to anyone is Thursday, March 29th. So if you have college kids that are wanting a ballot for the April election, the last day we can mail it is the 29th of March. So get those requests in to us. We do also require the photo ID, so make sure you bring a photo ID if you come in to vote. And if you want one by a ballot by mail, you also need to send a copy of your photo ID along as well.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Coons.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one announcement. Tomorrow at the Neenah Library is the school board forum. Thank you. So the candidates will all be meeting there, and I'm blanking on the times. At 6 or 6? 6 o'clock.
It's at the library, correct?
At the library, yes.
Okay, school board forum tomorrow night, 6 o'clock at the Neenah Library. There's 6 candidates running for 3 positions, I believe. So, okay, anyone else with any other announcements or anything? Go ahead.
The city of Neenah, the local candidates and the county candidates had a forum last Thursday on the 15th, and that was televised last night in our slot at 6 p.m. It will be on our website hopefully by tomorrow. If people are interested, they can go to our website and visit and view it.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. Spring must be coming because I received my annual invitation to the Memorial Day Parade. So council members, be watching for that. I'll be coordinating participation with Menasha. Last year I believe we utilized the fire department float, but we did not use the trailer. So if you have comments about, I've always liked to invite family members to walk with us because it's one opportunity for them to be acknowledged for their participation, for our participation in local government. And I'm going to reemphasize that this year. So if we have family members who may want to participate but may not be able to walk, we may want to include the trailer again, but I'll look for your input. I'll ask Menasha for their input as well.
Okay. I was going to I'll tell you all about my NCAA bracket where I think I only got 2 wrong so far, but I don't think I have anyone left, quite frankly, but it's really bad. So with that, anyone else?
Motion to adjourn.
There's a motion by Alderman Paulno, seconded by Alderman Boyette to adjourn. All in favor of adjournment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
That bracket was pure entertainment value only.
Oh, my.
Broadcasts of the City of Neenah Common Council meetings are produced by University Studios of the University of Wisconsin-Fox Valley. Neenah residents can get information about City Council meetings, City Committee meetings, meeting agendas, and other documents via the city website, www.neenahgov.org. Neenah residents can express their opinions about city issues or about these broadcasts by contacting the mayor's office, contacting their city alderman, or by completing the electronic feedback form on the city website, www.neenahgov.org. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited for playback.